This is Beyond Business. Witness the real lives of Cranbrook's female entrepreneurs as they candidly tell their stories, their experiences, and their struggles in raw, revealing conversations. My guest today, Gabrielle Hockley, she is a force to be reckoned with. And when I was putting together all of the things that I could say about Gabby, I could talk and talk about the accomplishments that this woman has had in her life. For example, in 2020, she was named the Female Rider of the Year. She's been a stunt double for Gal Gadot. In 2021, she was the Canadian national champ for wake surfing. And in 2023, she received an award for being in the top 1% which is nationally for her real estate agency. Like, that is incredible. But the piece that really inspires me about Gabby, and the reason why that list of her accomplishments is as long as it is because Gabby is a person who doesn't think or wonder whether or not she can do something. She just puts herself out there and tries. I'm so inspired by that because I myself am not a doer. I'm more of I spend more time thinking about things and trying to figure out what the best way forward is. And whenever I look at the way that you do things, I'm so inspired to just take that next step, because you constantly are taking next steps and putting yourself out there when you don't necessarily know what you're doing. And I love that about you. So I'm so glad that you're here today. Thank you for spending the time with me. And I thought, because when I was looking at entrepreneurs to host on this show, I find you so fascinating because there are so many different things that you're involved in, and it's incredible to watch. So the first piece that I want to unpack is your sledding life. And I think the reason why I want to start there is because I know that this is a passion of yours. You have been sledding since you were 3 years old. I don't even know how that's possible. Like, what does that even mean? Does that mean you were actually driving the snowmobile, or were you on your, like, what did that look like at 3 years old?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. So I got my first snowmobile when I was 3. My parents put their names in a draw I think it was at a poker run. And they put their names in the draw and they lucked out and were the ones that won. And it was a kitty cat snowmobile. So just a tiny little 120 powered snowmobile. And that was my first sled. And that was at 3.
And so when you would ride this, were you riding in the mountains? I mean, we live in the mountains, or are you riding, like, where are you riding this at 3? And
right. Yeah. So, well, a funny story about that. So when I first got it, I just ride it around the house at my parents' place, just do laps around and around the house. And my brother had come outside and I was doing the laps, and he comes out and sees the snowmobile running, and he's like, oh, where's Gabby? Goes into the shop, talks to my dad. He's like, Dad, where's Gabby? Like, the snowmobile's out there running. And so him and my dad come out to the snowmobile, and I'm lying underneath the snowmobile sleeping because I fell off the snowmobile and rode over myself. No. And then I cried myself to sleep. I think that was when I was 3. And then we started to take it up into the mountain, but it was just on the trail. So it was such a small sled. I remember my dad, he would just pick it up and put it on the back of his snowmobile once it couldn't go anymore and drop it off, just go to the cabin, that kind of thing, with that small of sled. But that's what really got me into it, was my parents' love for it, and particularly my dad's.
Okay, I'm a little bit in shock. You ran yourself. Yes. I just have to, like, go back to that because okay, that's crazy. You ran yourself over. You fell off, ran yourself over, and then cried yourself to sleep.
Yeah, literally.
Thank God for your brother.
Right.
Like, how long?
Of course, my mom was working night shift. She wouldn't have been very impressed.
No, I think your dad probably could have been in a lot of trouble. But it speaks to a different way that we often live in the Kootenays.
Yes, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And a different way that I think kids were raised in previous generations than they are typically being raised now.
Definitely.
So it sounds like you had a passion for that from a young age. And you just said also that it really came from your dad.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he snowmobiled when he was a kid and got my mom into it when they got married, which she was only 18 when they got married, and she got fully into it and just grew from there. And I ride with my brother all the time. I ride with my parents multiple times a year. It's pretty awesome.
So it's been a family it's been a family recreation since you were little, and it still is for you guys.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it kind of changes, I find, like year to year, just on how much I'll actually get out and ride with my parents. But I do love getting out and riding with them. I do ride a lot with my brother the most now. And it's just because with their age that they're getting at, they're not maybe doing the same kind of sledding as we are, but they're still going out and still go really good. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the type of riding that you're doing is a better fit with the type of riding that your brother likes to do. But the family piece is huge for you.
It is, for sure. Yeah. And he gets his kids going out with us too now. They all have little snowmobiles that he's gotten, actually same ones that me and him had a matching set of Elan snowmobiles, and that's what he got for his two kids, is two Elans, and they fixed them up, and so they're going now too. It's awesome.
That is amazing. It probably gives you a bit of nostalgia. Hey,
it so does. Yes.
Seeing your nephews out there and seeing that they're getting to participate in a sport that's so dear to you, and it's been a part of your life for pretty much your entire life, like all your memories.
Yeah, like all my winter memories are snowmobiling, really.
Now, talk to me about, is sledding a job for you? Because you're an athlete for Polaris, so you have responsibilities that come with that. It is a job. Yeah. Or is it not a job? Where do you fall on this?
So because I love it, I don't necessarily wouldn't say it's a job by any means. I have a relationship with companies that we kind of have an agreement that I do certain things for them and they do the same for me. So in that aspect, I guess it's kind of like a job, but to me, it doesn't feel like a job because I love it so much. So I wouldn't say it's a job by any means. It's definitely my biggest passion for sure.
And has it always been the biggest passion, or does that change seasonally for you? Because wake surfing was a big part of your life for a while, because you were, was it the top 10 in the world at one point for professional wake surfers for women? Top 10, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that in itself, some women only do one sport.
Right, yeah.
Like, especially at such an elite level.
Right.
So, how does that work? Did wake surfing ever measure up to sledding, or does it only fit in because we have summer here too?
Right.
Not just winter?
No, it definitely did. Like, I mean, and it still does. It's more just I think if I tried to continue at that elite level with the wake surfing, then I wouldn't be able to do the snowmobiling as well. Like, I'd have to contribute my winters to living somewhere hot like Florida or Arizona, because the level of wake surfing now has just gotten so good that the top riders, they're riding all year round. So, and that's pretty hard to keep up with when our season, I mean, we start really early, and that's April. So we got April till October if we're lucky. So it's just not enough time. And that's when the competitions is in the summer. So I think that was a big part when we decided to step back from competing in the World Series, was giving up that time of actually getting to ride. So now, because we're not competing like that, we get to ride every weekend multiple times. Whereas when you're competing, you're flying and traveling. So you do, a full day travel there. Then you do 2 days of competing. Your run is 1 minute there, 1 minute back. So you'll get 2 max, if you do really well, 3 runs over the whole weekend, and then travel home. So it doesn't leave you with much time left to actually get to wake surf. So that was a big thing that we just decided, we're not gonna compete in the World Series anymore, but we do some other competitions. Like we're involved in some grassroots ones where we help get people into the sport. So, and the one that we're actually involved in is the Alberta tour. So we'll go take the boat there. We try to get other riders to join in, and it's just about getting other people stoked on wake surfing. So we do those every year. And then lots of times we'll do Canadian Nationals still and compete in that, which Canadian Nationals, even though it's called Canadian Nationals, you can be from anywhere in the world and compete in it. So that one will get top level competitors in it too.
It's not just Canadians that only get to surf for a few months of the year.
Exactly.
Other people
Yeah.
that come in
Like
that
we've
ride year round.
Yeah. So we've had people, like quite a few come from Arizona and Florida. We had few from Japan come before. So it still ends up being a pretty big competition too.
That's a long ways to come.
Japan,
so far,
right?
But
Yeah.
but I think that speaks to the size of the sport too, and the number of people that are participating at that level is like it's a small community.
Oh yeah, yeah. It definitely is. Like you really, and I feel like snowmobiling's kind of like that too. Is you get to know everybody within the community because they are like it is a smaller community within the elite group.
Well, and my gut on that, Gabby, is that smallness. It's interesting that both of the sports are like a small community group, because my gut on this is part of the reason why you enjoy that is you're kind of the type of person that has one or two close friends.
Yeah, definitely.
And so both of these sports, you've been able to know the people that you're competing with, and you can be in relationship with them because it is such a small group of people.
Yeah, and I think too you become really close with them because they're just as passionate about the same thing that you love. So you build your relationships way up because you love doing that and they love doing it. So it just gives you something easy to always talk about and be excited to talk to them about because they love it as much as you do.
Yeah, it's the shared passion, but it's also the understanding of what does it mean to compete at this elite level, because it's not the same. It's not the same for people that are competing at that level as it is for others.
For sure. Yeah.
So talk to me about what that means. What does it mean to be an elite athlete and to compete at that level? Like what are the sacrifices that you had to make to get there? I mean, when we look at sledding, you had to do it your whole life.
Well, yeah. It's funny because, like, to me, I don't really look at any of it as sacrifices because it's like in the winter, I feel like lots of people want to take a hot holiday, whereas my mindset isn't there that I want to go somewhere hot in the winter. Sure, in shoulder season, like October, November, there's not really good snow. You can't surf anymore. So I'm like all about it that time of the year. But I would never choose to go, say, to Hawaii in February because I don't want to give up the best snow conditions, and I would probably enjoy that more is riding in the best conditions of the year than being somewhere hot instead. So to me, it doesn't really feel like I'm necessarily giving anything up. It's just I'm putting time aside for doing what I love. Maybe I guess with giving things up, maybe like going to some of the events that are actually in the winter would count as giving something up because you're going to an event where you're seeing lots of other people that love snowmobiling too, but you're not snowmobiling. You know what I mean? You're talking about the product and that kind of, you're talking about the product and about snowmobiling, but you're not actually doing it. So maybe those few times are giving up that time where I could actually be out in the mountain and doing it. But otherwise, I don't feel like I'm really giving anything up to do it.
So I remember getting this call from you, and you were telling me that you had this opportunity.
Yes.
And you were really on the fence. Now, the opportunity, this is how I remember it, and maybe you remember it differently, Gabby, but basically you got this call and they were asking you to come be a stunt double for an action movie that was going, I don't know if at that time you knew it was Gal Gadot that you were.
I didn't.
You didn't? No, I didn't think you had that piece of information, but you knew it was an action film and you knew that they wanted you to come to Europe for a few weeks to be a stunt double, and you were on the fence.
I was.
So Talk to me about that, because for a lot of women, if that, they can envision that opportunity being presented to them, maybe not as a stunt double, but this opportunity to do something like that, of that magnitude. And there are many people that are waiting for an opportunity like that.
Right.
And you had one offered to you. Not that it was offered to you without valid reason. I mean, you're an incredibly skilled rider. There's a reason why they came to you to ask you this. But I love that you were unsure. So talk me through that. Talk me through what it was about that you were not even sure you wanted to do that.
Yeah, it was a weird phone call, truthfully. So I was running around, and I got this phone call when I stopped somewhere anyways. I got this phone call, and he just asked me if I snowbiked, and I explained to him that I had snowbiked a few times, and my brother and dad had one, but like I was a snowmobiler, not a snowbiker, but I could ride one. And then he was like, okay, well, we have this part in this movie, and he didn't really give me any detail on it. So at this time, I had no idea if this was something to do for like a sponsor or what.
Right.
But he just said, I have this part in this movie, and we need a female snowbiker to be the main character for this section of the movie. And I was given your name, and I checked out your Instagram and everything. Looks like you would match up well. And then he just asked me how tall I was. I told him how tall I was, and he was like, well, normally we try out people for this, but you have the part if you want it. He's like, because we need someone. And all of your like credentials meet up for what we're looking for. And I was like, okay, well, I will call my husband and get back to you. And then, I mean, at that time, I don't even think he was allowed to tell me yet what the character was or what it was for, anything like that, until he had some kind of verbal of me saying, yeah,
right,
I'm in. So at first I was just kind of like, okay, is this some kind of weird scam? Like, this is just odd.
What does this person really want from me?
Yeah. So then I think he got my name from one of the other girls that rides for Climb, my sponsor for gear for snowmobiling. And so anyways, I reached out to her and was like, hey, this guy reached out to me, like he mentioned your name, and she was like, oh yeah, I passed along your name because I thought you would be really good for it. And so did one of the guys that work for Climb, said the same thing. He passed along my name, and I was like, is this guy like legit? And they were like, yes. Yeah, it's like it's a real thing. He's a stunt coordinator. And I was like, okay. And then I talked to Isaac about it, and I was like, I don't know, like it was to be away for a month, and I was like, oh, we're so busy. And to me, to like give up, it was all of March. So I was like, to give up a month of like prime riding time, I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. So that was a big factor for me. Like if it was later in the year, say if it was even April, I would have been a lot more inclined to than being all of March. So that was a big part. And then just going away, doing and not knowing anyone, and going and doing something for a month seemed like a lot, but I also could see the like opportunity with it as well. So we kind of discussed it, and originally we're like, no, I don't think we're gonna do it, or I'm gonna do it. And then we just thought about it a bunch more, and Isaac was like, I think you have to do it. Like you're gonna think about it, and you're going to be like, well, I wonder what it would have been like if you don't. And that's what I was contemplating, like the whole time, was just like, even if it's not great, I'll be glad I did it, because I won't be wondering what it was like. So that was pretty much why I decided to do it. So, and two, I guess, finding out that it was actually a legit thing and reputable, because we were a bit unsure on that end for sure. And then so they flew me. I flew from Cranbrook and then flew out to Venice. And then we shot up in the Alps, like on the edge of Italy. And it was all snow biking. So, and that was part of my comprehension too, is like, I'm like, I can ride a snow bike, but I'm not great at this. And they were like, it's fine. We'll teach you while you're here, while we're rehearsing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, if you guys think that will work, then sure. So I went and did it, and it was one of the coolest experiences that I've ever had, for sure. And it was funny because I thought it was going to be more scary, I guess. And I thought too, I was worried that it was going to end up being like boring in a way. So I just figured that it was going to be like, you're on a set and you're sitting there outside in the winter time, and all the shots were at night. So I was like, we're just going to be sitting there waiting and waiting for hours for like that 1 second where they want me to go do something. But because the part I was playing was the main character, every time we went out and shot, I was going like the whole entire time. So that made it really, really fun. But I think that also took a lot of the pressure off, because then you start to get comfortable with it, rather than just like lots of like the photo shoots that I've done before. It's like, okay, go in that spot and like the snow is perfect, and do like a carve and then just give gas on the way out. Like, so you're just doing the shot one time and you're like, I don't want to wreck out the perfect snow. Like, I thought it was kind of going to be like that. You do one shot and then you sit for a couple hours until it's your next turn. But because I was doing the main character, it wasn't like that. It was like just go, go, go the entire time. And it was super fun. There was a few definitely risky things that happened in it, but it was super unique experience, and it was interesting because being a stunt double, they pay you based on how dangerous your stunt is. So like one day my pay would be way different than another day, because what I did, I guess, was more risky. So I thought that was super interesting, because you're always like, I wonder what I'm going to get today. Or like you'd be like, oh, today I think was the most risky. And then you'd get your pay and you'd be like, oh, I guess they thought that was more risky, but that was not more risky. So it's just interesting and a different experience compared to any of the other stuff I've shot for before. And it was pretty exciting to like watch, like when the movie came out on Netflix. And it was weird because it's also like almost 2 years later when it came out.
The time lapse.
Yeah. But it was super cool to watch that and be like, okay, that was me, and that actually was real, when you think stuff kind of looks like maybe that was fake. And so that was super fun to go over all that when it actually came out. So
to be able to go back and see what is actually real and not real in that. Okay?
And like you kind of feel like you're reliving it, because you just remember like, oh, like how they make it look, and then compared to like what you're actually doing, like
how it felt
is so different. Yeah, it can be so different just how they clip everything together. So yeah, it was a really cool experience, and I would 100% regret it if I didn't do it, knowing now what it was.
Yeah.
So
sounds like you were able to make the right decision.
Yeah.
In the moment.
Yeah. Well, it is funny too, because they're like, when he offered me the part, he's like, yeah, you're like the perfect height for the main character, and you like somewhat look like her. So like, we're good. Like you can just have the part because you look it. I was like, okay.
It must have been intimidating to think you're flying across the world to the other side of the world to ride a machine that you don't typically ride.
Yeah, that part was that part was super weird. And too, before like I went, I was like, well, am I signing a contract? Because like in my mind, you want to sign before they pay for you to fly somewhere. And that was the part that gave me a lot of apprehension of like, is this legit or is this some just weird thing?
Right.
And yeah, I didn't sign anything until I actually flew and got to the resort, because I kept asking him that. I'm like, do I sign a contract before I come and fly like across the country? Like, but nope. Just signed everything there. And it was a unique time because it was during COVID. So it was just a pain. Pain too, but cool. Very cool, but definitely like, I don't know, they're doing the testing every day and stuff. So that part maybe wasn't the best about it, but it was a cool, I mean, it made it too during that time to be able to get away where most people couldn't, right? So that part was nice too. Mm-hmm. So timing wise, I actually think it was great.
Well, and it's really exciting.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, I know you said there were quiet parts of the shoot where you're waiting and the not so fun stuff, but it's exciting to see it all come together. I know my kids were incredibly jacked. There's Gabby. They were freaking out when they seen it.
It was super cool. Yeah. And it's such a fun, I don't know. I feel like it's such a fun memory, and it's such a cool story to be able to tell people about. Like, it is such a once in a lifetime experience, I guess. I mean, I think if I wanted to pursue that way, I think there would be the ability now that I've done one, but like it never once entered my mind that I would ever want to do that. Like I don't really want to go and like, I don't want to speak in front of the camera or any of that, but that's what made it not as nerve-wracking, I guess. 'Cause I'm riding the snow bike. So it kind of, I don't know, it just like mentally fit.
And this is such an incredible thing about you because of the path that you've chosen, because of sledding, because of wake surfing, and how excellent you are at both of those. And even with your real estate, which we haven't dived into too much, you're often in the spotlight. But that's not a place that you particularly like being.
True.
And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily know about you.
Right.
Because from an outside perspective, it can look like that you love it or that you want to be in the spotlight. But it seems to me that the spotlight is just a part of something that has to come along with this. You can't be a Polaris rider if you're not putting your pictures out there of what you're doing, right? Like you have to take up some space in the spotlight in order to ride at the level that you're riding at, and in order to compete with the wake surfing. So talk to me about how you manage that pressure of being in the spotlight.
Right. Okay. So like, I mean, social media I do find is kind of, it's never a look into somebody's day-to-day life, if that makes sense. So like with doing photos and that kind of thing, it's fun and exciting because I do it with Isaac. So I'm doing it with somebody that I love, and he loves taking photos, and he's so great at it. So I have a huge advantage there because he's willing to do that for me. And same with video content as well. But definitely like when I go to a manufacturer shoot or something like that is definitely a lot more nerve-wracking because you're doing it with whoever they've hired, and they're looking for a specific shot. And there's that pressure of being on there, but it's also I'm performing something that I do all the time. So for those scenarios, it's great because sure, I get nervous, but it's not like I'm talking, I guess, in front of a bunch of people. Whereas maybe like going to some of the events and stuff, when I do have to do that part, that's the hardest part for sure for me, is just speaking out in front of people about it. Whereas doing a one-on-one conversation with someone, that's just fun and easy because I'm just talking about what I'm passionate about. Doing that in front of other people in a large group, that definitely is harder for me.
And do you find that there's lots of circumstances where you have to do that?
There is quite a few. I find there's a few times a year, like, and two, doing ones where it's like looking for something specific. So they want you to say something specific, and it's not that you disagree with it or whatever, because it's always something that maybe I had said already candidly, but now to go and say it again, like in front of a camera, I don't know. It just changes it for whatever reason. It's hard to redo something that you've already just done naturally, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. In a lot of the conversation that we've had so far, you've used the word we. We do this together.
Right.
And let's talk about that, because all three of the things that you do, the three things that we've been talking about, so the sledding, the wake surfing, and we haven't dived into the real estate, but the real estate piece, you do this with your partner.
Yes, I do.
So all three of those businesses, if we're calling them, are definitely connected. So you live and work with your partner across all facets. So let's talk about that. How is it to work with your partner day in, day out, and have this blending of your life and your work all mishmashed?
Yeah, for sure. So it's funny because we used to always joke about like if we were married for 2 years, it's like compared to somebody that's been married 5 years, because we're together 24/7 and we do all of our fun things together. We do all our work together. So we do literally everything together. So in that factor, I feel like we know each other really well, but I do think there's parts where it's hard too, because if you're frustrated about something work-wise, well, like we kind of talked about before, is you're not going away from them, or you can't go and vent to your partner because it probably is about your partner. So that part maybe is like the hard part, but then there's such an advantage to it too. Because now we're doing all of our fun stuff together and we're doing all of our work together, and I think we're very different, and we complement each other really well. So I think that makes a big difference in how well our businesses do. And that's a big reason why I've gone so far with snowmobiling and wake surfing, is just having that support there and somebody, literally my biggest fan, cheering for me all the way along, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I just want to pause on that, because that is incredible. Mm-hmm. This piece about, I couldn't have gotten here without someone else.
Yeah, for sure.
I think there can be so much pressure that we have to push ourselves, we have to succeed, and we can get so focused on self, like I need to do this and I'm doing this, and we can sometimes miss out that we're doing this together. Yeah. And I think that that happens for you because it's so interconnected, but also that recognition that you are where you are because of the people in your life.
Yeah, 100%.
And not just your partner, like not just Isaac, but also your dad. Yeah,
definitely. Like, I mean, I definitely would never have gotten into snowmobiling if I didn't have my dad. Like, he just loved it so much, and it was so cool that he wanted to share that with us too. And two, being just such a big support system on that end of things. Like, if something of mine breaks, I just call my dad and go, Dad, I need your help. I would need to figure out how to fix this because I need it to take tomorrow or whatever. And he would always be there to help me with that side of it. And then also just, I think his excitement, because he loves it so much too. So he's just so excited to watch and see the success in it as well.
Well, and there's that other piece too of the way that you approach life. Mm-hmm. You know, that doer piece that we were talking about, that I was talking about right from the beginning, that you just go out and you do it. Like, you don't even think that maybe you can't, or that you need a plan. You just start. Right. And I think that comes from your parents.
Yes, it definitely comes from my parents. I feel like my family's not a delegating family. We're very much a doing family, which maybe, I mean, that can be bad too when you're overwhelmed and you need to delegate. We're not great at that because we are doers, but that's the nice thing I feel like with me and Isaac, and why we work well together, is because we're opposites on that end. So it just lines up well.
So meaning in work and in the relationship, you're more of a doer and he's more of a delegator.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you have to do all the work, or what?
He delegates things to me for sure. But he's also good at bringing other people in, whereas I feel like it's always hard to me to like let things go and be like, okay, someone else can do it, because 100% someone else can do some of the stuff that we need to get done. It's just hard for me to let it go. And it's not for him. He's just like, okay, you're going to do this. It's going to be great. Perfect. Or if it's not, then discuss okay, this isn't done right. You need to do it again.
So what is it about letting it go? Like, why is that hard for you? Because there's so many reasons why it could be.
Yeah, it's funny because I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist by any means, but maybe that's a little bit of trying to be a perfectionist. I don't know, because I know I would say my dad is quite a perfectionist. And so maybe I'm getting that from him, that it's just hard to let it go.
Because you want it to be a certain quality.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a piece of why you don't want to delegate and you just want to do. Because then you're in control of what the product's going to be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think there's something else in that?
I don't know, actually. I do just think, I don't know, it's just, it is the concern, I guess, of having to redo it or do it again after the fact, or to have to go through, and I don't like conflict. So like to go through and be like, hey, this wasn't done right. It needs to be redone. I hate dealing with conflict. So maybe that's a big part of it too, where I'm just like, I'm just going to do it myself, and then I don't have to worry about that.
Seems easier.
Yeah.
Because you know that you're going to be able to control the product.
Yeah.
Because you know what you're capable of. So you know
Yes.
it's going to be the quality. So you don't have to waste time
Yes.
and repeat it.
Yes.
But you also get to avoid the conflict piece. Like maybe if
Yeah.
it is wrong, you don't have to explain
Yeah.
why it was wrong.
Yeah.
Because that is uncomfortable for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Like letting people know like this isn't okay. I need
Yeah.
you to change things.
Yeah, for
So do you
sure.
find that you avoid conflict kind of everywhere?
Mostly.
You know, conflict's a funny thing because a lot of people have different feelings about it. Like whether
Yeah.
that they should be better at facing things head on, or whether they should be able to let things go more. And it's kind of like curly hair and straight hair.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is when you have straight hair, curly hair looks so great. And
Yeah.
when you have curly hair, you're
Right.
like, ooh, straight hair would be so great.
Exactly.
But the curling iron is really the best thing, or the straightener.
Yeah.
Meaning, and what I mean by that is our ability to adapt and be able to be like, no, in this situation, I need to be able to confront this
Yeah.
and have the skills that we have that are a little bit outside of our realm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So
for
that
sure.
we can overcome or get in the direction
Yeah.
that we need to go. And I think you touched on that a bit when you were talking about your partnership with Isaac. That because of that relationship, it helps you get where you need to go. And
Yeah.
And likewise, that partnership you've also supported him. It's not
Yeah.
one-sided. It's both, right?
For sure. And he's just like so good at being like, I don't know, like being the most, I don't know, he's just very like if he has something set to his mind that he's going to do, it's going to happen. Even if I'm like in my mind like, oh, can we do that though? Like if I question, he's like, yeah, we're going to. And I'm like, okay, let's try, I guess. So he definitely has that mindset. If he's got something that he wants to do, he's just going to go and do it. And I like that a lot. And I think he's good at pushing that on other people as well. Like he's just such a positive attitude in that way where he's like, well, if you want to do that, let's just do it.
Which is how you pursued sponsorships in the first place.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it was, I just had brought up to him, we were just talking about sponsorships, and this was like years ago when Instagram it was just starting to kind of build up and be something. And so there wasn't like a huge amount of like, because with like the snowmobiling, it's such like an online presence for marketing for the company. So when we discussed it, it was like, he was like, well, yeah, you could do it, no problem. And I was like, what, really? He's like, yeah, you could do that for sure. Like, let's go after it. So, and that's literally what we did. We just went out, took a bunch of photos out snowmobiling. And because he did photography for 10 plus years before that, they were amazing. And we just reached out to a few companies that I was super interested in, and yeah, pretty much asked them what I could do for them and showed them what we could do by doing the photos and videos. And it kind of took off from there because I think too, they didn't have people necessarily reaching out in that way yet. Whereas I think now it's starting to grow. So there's starting to be a lot more, and especially because social media is so big now. But I did have that huge advantage of Isaac being so good at photos and him having that attitude of just like, you can do anything you want to do. So let's just do it.
Yeah. Well, and it's like the perfect pairing too.
Yeah.
Because you also had the skill set.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
you actually can ride.
Yeah.
You're not just a pretty face, Gabby.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people on social media that are showcasing the clothes, not necessarily the riding.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and
know?
it's funny because like when I had a friend that we went out with, and he had kind of said something like that. He's like, "Oh, I thought you were just a mountain model, but now that I actually rode with you, you're so good." I was like, well, I feel like you get a lot of that with social media too. It's just because you're like presenting photos and stuff. And I mean, with video, I guess video kind of starts to show, you can actually get an idea of it, but nothing ever looks necessarily as steep as it is or exactly as it is on a video. It can really come down to where you placed your camera. Like we did this one where we climbed this chute, and I posted it, and there's a bunch of people commented on it that it wasn't very steep. And then I posted the exact same chute another time that we went, and I literally angled the camera a tiny bit different. And the reaction was completely different. It was just like, that was so steep. Like, it was just so funny. So media's weird that way, I guess. Like it can portray things different than they necessarily are, for sure.
And you're in control of what you're portraying to some degree.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I don't, like on my personal page, like truthfully, I don't really post any real estate stuff on there. Yeah, we have a real estate page that we do that, but I keep it all like snowmobile and wake surf specific. And I feel like, to me, the biggest reason is because that's the reason those people are following me, is because they're interested in either wake surfing or snowmobiling. So it's interesting to them. Whereas if I started, say, posting real estate and they're not into it, then maybe they're not into my page anymore, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, because the audience, those are your clients to some degree, like in terms of wake surfing and sledding. And if you start inundating them with homes in Cranbrook, like your audience is not just in Cranbrook.
No,
it's all over the world.
Yeah.
And I think it's a way of honoring them.
Yeah.
By not inundating them with your real estate stuff.
For sure.
And I think that matters, because I think when people are looking to people for inspiration, or I think that authenticity matters.
Yeah.
And that they can trust who you are. And I think that that's a way of maintaining integrity, is keeping your real estate separate.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, I mean, it would be the same thing, I guess, if I went and put I guess snowmobiling, I could be like, well, this is what our riding's like here, if I put it on our real estate page. But like, really, people are coming there because they want to see what's happening with the market or what's available on the market right now. Whereas it would just be confusing if it was full of my wake surf and snowmobile stuff. They'd be like, well, that's not really why I came here. So
do you have trouble managing both? Because it's not just 2 pages, right? Like it's not just sledding and surfing and real estate. It's also all of the work that is associated with real estate and that is associated with being a rider and a surfer. So how do you do that? How do you do all that you do, Gabby?
Time is too short, truthfully. It is hard to fit it all in. And I feel like with our real estate, our business is constantly growing, and we're at the point where we've now brought on somebody, and I think it's going to be something where that's what we're going to need to do, is just bring in other people to work with us that we also think are going to be great to work with. And at this point we have one person, but I definitely anticipate that we're going to need more than that pretty soon.
Yeah. Talk to me about real estate, because that's not where you started off in your professional career. You started in, I believe it was interior design.
Yes.
And Isaac had he moved from photography into real estate, which was a very easy progression for him, because unlike you, he's incredibly comfortable talking to everybody all the time, anywhere. Not that I want to clarify that you mentioned in the shows that you're very comfortable talking one-on-one about things that you love. So it's not that you're necessarily, I don't know what the word is, but it's not that you're uncomfortable with people, because you're not. You're very outgoing.
For sure.
But that was a very natural progression for him to go from photography to real estate. But you were doing interior design. So how did you end up being Isaac's doer?
Yeah, right. So I loved interior design. And I had started in Cranbrook doing it, and then I had gone to Calgary for a job there. Was there for a very short time. Well, I was with the company for quite a while, but I was doing mostly drafting and wasn't necessarily needing to be on site, rarely ever. And this part's funny because we discussed this and you inspired me to ask them if I could work from home since I was anyways doing everything from the office. And at that point, I was like, well, there's no reason why I wouldn't ask. The worst case scenario would be they say no, and I'm in the same position I am now. So I asked them and they said, yeah, you can work from Cranbrook. So I literally that weekend packed up, left Calgary, was there for 7 months and then back to Cranbrook. And then I worked for them for quite a few years. And then Isaac, I mean, he had planned to do real estate for quite a long time before this and was doing a bunch of it for Livingstones with all the builds and everything. And so he had decided, okay, now's the time for me to go do my license and kind of step back from doing photography as much. And so he did that. And then he just started getting really busy. And I was like, okay, well, I can help with the paperwork admin side of stuff and do my interior design. And then it just got to be way too much. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to have to let the interior design end of things go and just take on the real estate end. And so I decided to get my license. And at that time, I figured I was getting my license so I could write the offers and do all of that, but I was never going to do any of the face-to-face. That was like Isaac's side of things, at least in my mind it was. And then I got my license and we just got busier and busier and busier. And it feels like the busyness hasn't stopped, I guess, if that makes sense. So now I do all the face stuff too and do all the paperwork side too. And now it's just like there's two of us.
I want to go back to something that you said because I think that there's something interesting in what you shared. And so you had your own career. You're doing interior design and your partner has his own career and it's in real estate and he's busy and needs help.
Yeah.
And so you start helping and all of a sudden there's enough work that you can do more than just help. You can leave your other job to do this job. And I think one of the things that women can struggle with, or maybe I'm speaking for myself and not women as a whole, but I think something that I maybe have struggled with is just, did it ever feel like you were giving up your dreams for something that wasn't your dream so that you could support your partner's dream? Or did it feel like that? Or because you are an independent, strong woman.
Yeah.
So from the outside, it'd be like, Gabby, what are you doing? You're giving up your career to be the
right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like I don't.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering what that experience was like, because I think it's amazing what you guys have built together. And I can see that the success that you have isn't because of one of you, but it's because of who you are together.
Right.
But I think sometimes there's an expectation on women that we shouldn't necessarily give things up for our partner because we gave up so much for so long.
Right.
Like I'm talking not us, but in the past, women made so many sacrifices to be at home, to be the wife to the husband. And then things have evolved for us and we're now in the workforce and we're in a lot of workforces and more than men, in some, and we have a lot of representation. So sometimes I think that along with that comes that burden that we can't give up our dreams for our husband because you're giving up on all these sacrifices that all these women made. So I wonder, I guess what I'm saying is, did you feel that?
I didn't feel like that necessarily actually at all because our mindset at that time was like, okay, this is going to give us more flexibility. Like now all of a sudden I'm not have this expectation of like, okay, 9 till 5 or 8 till 5. This is going to give us that flexibility of, oh, we have a snow day right now. Okay, perfect. Well, tomorrow we'll just have to stack up all this stuff and now we're going to go enjoy that snow day. So it took us out of that like 9 to 5. And that's kind of, that was really a big reason too, where Isaac at the time had, I think part of the reason was to choose real estate for that factor, but also just because he's so great with people and he loves working with people. So that it gave him both of those things. But that's where my end of coming into it kind of made sense, is like, I want to be able to have that flexibility. And we did have that for a long time until we started getting really, really busy. And now it's like, it just doesn't shut off. It's 24/7, which I think that's anytime you own your own business. It's not like you can just clock out at 5 o'clock and now all of a sudden it's off your mind, or you're not going to get a phone call from a client that needs something right now, or like that isn't ever going to stop. Whereas that's where I think maybe the advantage of doing something like a 9 to 5, not running your own business, you have that, you don't have to carry that stress that it's your business, but you also don't get the benefits of it being your own business, where you can choose your hours and when you're having your time off. And that was the biggest thing to me, was I wanted to have that flexibility. I didn't want to give up. Like this winter, if you didn't get out, there was like 2 good snowstorms that we had come through. Otherwise, this winter wasn't very good at all. It was probably one of the worst ones for weather-wise for snowmobiling. And we had 2 good snowstorms. And if you were somebody that was working 9 till 5, Monday to Friday, and you couldn't get out when that snowstorm happened, say on Tuesday, you probably didn't even get out this season. I know a lot of people that normally would ride were like, it was the worst season ever. And to me, I was like, it was pretty good, because I got out on the best days that were there, but I wouldn't have had that ability to do that if I was doing like the 9 till 5.
Right. So it wasn't, when you chose to go down the real estate, you were seeing the benefits. You weren't feeling like you were sacrificing. You were feeling like you were making space in your life to do the things that you were passionate about.
Yeah, I definitely did feel like that. I mean, I think there's like that, like you said, being a woman and you're giving up what you're doing. In some ways, that part felt like that a bit, because he was already great at this. And I was kind of coming in, so like working under him. So now all of a sudden it's like, okay, that part I think takes away a bit from your independence, from being your own self, if that makes sense, within a workforce. But once I got good at it, and now I know like I can do it without him. I think we both do it way better together, but we each could do it without each other and still be fine. So I think once I got to that point, then it was like fine. But like before that, for sure, mentally I was like, okay, like was this the right move? But then with surfing and with snowmobiling, it was 100% like lining those days up was worth it. So
well, and being able to be in control of your schedule.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Have the freedom to ride and take those snow days as they were coming. Yeah. And what I love about your guys' relationship is how you support each other, because it's so enmeshed.
Yeah, definitely.
And just like we were saying before, if things are rough at work, they're automatically rough at home.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
work and home are the same place.
They are. Yeah.
And that is challenging.
That's the hardest part, I think.
Yeah. Well, because you love your partner and you want to do well in your business.
For sure.
And you want to keep the peace.
Yeah.
Because you're a conflict avoider.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you manage that? Because not all days are good days. And you don't always agree with your partner. So how do you manage that? Because as a marriage therapist, relationships are hard enough, never mind working together. And as a person, as an entrepreneur who's a business partner with my husband, it's a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the stress and the pressure that can come down with work, whether it's you have too much work and you're trying to balance all those pieces and not feel overwhelmed and not feel stressed, or whether there's the financial component. When you work together, that's the income stream.
Yeah.
There's less diversity, right? So how do you manage that? How do you hold that space? Because I know relationships matter to you. I know how you are with your family, and I know how important relationships are to you. And I know it's not worth a job to you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So how do you hold that? How do you hold that pressure of being in relationship with Isaac, and he's the person you work with, and he's the person you like, how do you do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that is like an ongoing thing that you're always working on. Cause we'll go through stages where it's just like, okay, we can handle everything we got right now. This is great. This is the best. And we're all good. And then we go through that time where it's like overwhelming because we have too much going on that maybe not two of us can actually handle it all. And I think that's when it's the hardest, is just because we're working 18-hour days randomly. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we'll do a couple weeks like that where it's just like every single day you just finally don't look at your phone at 10 o'clock at night because we're like, we can't do it anymore. And then I think that's when it weighs on both of us the most. But we've also kind of worked at trying at least. I'm not great at conflict, as we've already talked about, but I'll try to be like, okay, this is not like this, where we're at right now isn't working for me. We need to figure this out, whether that means we need to give a bunch of this to our other employee so that we're also not going to kill each other.
Right. So most of the tension happens when the stress is high, which is coming from too much work. Yeah,
100%. Every time. Well, I think that's like the only thing literally that we argue or have a hard time with is literally just if we're too busy and we just literally can't handle it all.
Well, and recreation is a huge part of both of your lives.
For sure.
And taking time to recreate and also taking time to socialize.
Yeah.
To be with the people that you love, or in Isaac's case, to be with everyone.
Yeah.
He's so over the top social.
Right.
So that piece around, how do you know when it's too much? How do you know when it's too much? Like, because here's the tricky thing about being an entrepreneur is you're kind of like turning on that faucet, right? Mm-hmm. You're trying to get the flow going. Yeah. And then once the flow comes, once the work shows up and you put the time in and it's coming, you don't want to dial it back. Or this is the pressure I feel, because it's like it's flowing, it's working.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, it seems like it's just like the faucet's getting bigger and there's more and more coming. So what are you doing with that piece of it, I guess? Because you know that's the part that puts pressure on the relationship.
Yeah.
Is the amount of work. Mm-hmm. Yet the amount of work is what allows you to have the lifestyle that you have currently. And that's what you've been working towards, is having this. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Well, that's a good question. Our plan originally was like, we brought on the girl that we have now, Danny, and we brought her on in November. So at that time when we brought her on, our thought was she wants to be a licensed agent. She's young, she's going to be moldable. So we brought Danny on. She's been working away at getting her license while helping me with the administrative side of things. So I think doing that, timing-wise, I think we chose it well, because based on almost all real estate markets, generally spring and summer's busier. That's just how it seems to be. We figured, okay, well, I got time to get her trained up somewhat, that she'll be able to clear up some of this other stuff for us. So we have started that process, and it definitely is helping. And I feel like I can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel now. Like I think she'll be able to get her license here within the next few months. And I think that's going to make a load of difference for Isaac and myself. And she's just starting to get really good at everything that we need her to do. So that at least is our current goal or current plan for it. But we've discussed even bringing on somebody else on top of that, just that is already educated in the real estate market. Whereas we can already tell, like, she's going to bring more clientele to the table. So she's going to make it more busy too. So yeah, it's, I feel like it's always just like an ongoing changing thing because you finally figure it out and you get like caught up and you're in a comfy place and then all of a sudden you hit a certain part of the market and now it's crazy again. So then we're trying to replan and figure out, okay, what can we do to make it not so crazy?
Well, and I think you've touched on something that happens for all entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
regardless of the business.
Sure.
It's that you figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you don't.
Yeah.
Something shifts, or you feel like you need to shift, or the market changes, and then you're back to figuring it out. And it's not that you go back to square one, because you have all of that wealth of experience that you've brought, and your business isn't new, but there's this constantly repivoting and this trial and error process that is what it is to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, for sure.
So you are just continually figuring that out. And I think the way that you are as a person, just that you're willing to do that, you don't have to think it out, enables you to navigate that change easier than maybe some other people.
Right. Yeah. And I think too, like I don't know, because like me and Isaac will like talk about goals, and I wouldn't say like where we're at real estate wise, we ever said, okay, this is our goal to be like right there. Like Isaac is just a person that's like, just wants to continue growing, if that makes sense. So like, it's just ongoing growing. So I got to figure out that part of like, it's all good. We'll just figure it out, bring someone else on, or make the change that we need for it to continue growing. Or maybe at some point we need to decide we don't want to do that. But
because are you like that? Like you said, Isaac is the type of person that keeps growing and is growth minded and okay, let's do something new. But does that resonate with you?
I feel like it's funny because he'll like ask me where I want to go with it. And anytime he brings up, okay, this is my goal. Like, what do you think? Is that where you want to go? I'm always like, yeah, sounds good. Let's go. Let's do it. So I guess I would be, but I feel like he's more of the push to grow than I am. Whereas like, I'm like, I'll accept that we're going to like just stay here for a little bit and enjoy this spot that we're at rather than being constantly growing, if that makes sense.
It does. And it touches on that it's okay to be different. Mm-hmm. You both don't have to be growth minded.
Yeah, for sure.
He can be, and you can go along with it and figure it out as you go. And and just because you've done that in the past, it doesn't mean that you have to keep doing that.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
You know, it sounds like you've left space in there to figure it out and to make changes if you need to.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that makes it exciting too, because then it's always changing. It's not the same, if that makes sense. Like you're either bringing more people on, and maybe your job now is shifting to being different than it was before, because now you have someone else that can take on a large chunk of maybe the part you didn't like doing.
Right.
So I think, I do think the constant growth is definitely good. It's just mitigating how you're going to go about it.
Right. Because there's things that you want to protect.
Yeah. Well, just your time, right? Like how much can you fit in one day? Right. So that's what I mean, like by mitigating it, bringing on more people if you need to do that, which I mean, we're just learning that part now. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a process for sure to
figure
bring
out
somebody else in,
right?
Too.
To figure out how much you can pass over and whether or not that's actually making more work for you.
Yeah,
because initially when you bring someone in, it doesn't necessarily alleviate your work, even if they're skilled and know what they're doing before they show up. There's still that process of figuring out how you're going to work together.
Yeah, and too, I think because you have a certain way that you're going to do something, so I find you're generally going to want it done that way most of the time if you're trying to be consistent with how, say, you're advertising or how you're portraying yourself to your clients. You're going to want to kind of continue, getting better at it, but you're going to want to kind of mold them to fit your shell of how you want to advertise, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's because it's your business.
Yeah.
So whoever comes on is a representative of you and your business.
Yeah. And I feel like it was hard for someone else to care as much as you do. Just, right? Because it's not necessarily theirs. Like, it is yours. So,
Well, that sounds similar to what you were saying earlier about whether you just do the work
yes.
or whether you give the work to someone else.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's that feeling that if I give this, are they going to care for it in the way that I would care for it?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that matters to you because it's a representation of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And the work that,
Yeah.
and your work is you to some degree, right? Like
Yeah,
as
for sure.
as a rider, it's you that's riding.
Yeah.
And same with surfing. And then real estate, it's you. It's your name that's on the sign.
Yeah.
So it's a representative of who you are and the way that you want to be known in our community.
Definitely. Yeah.
When you're going about your life, doing the things that you're good at, that you're passionate about, that you're interested in, and you're finding success in it, it opens other doors. And it opens doors that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah. 100% it does. Yeah.
And because that door opened and you decided to go through it, there's now other doors that may open to you
Yeah.
that we don't maybe even know about yet. And I think that's such a fabulous way to look at business because sometimes I think we can get so stuck in, okay, I have to do these steps. I have to keep going this way. And we can create so much pressure to build a certain way when we just relax and be who we are.
Yeah.
Opportunities come up that we couldn't even imagine. And they can turn out to be incredible.
Yeah, definitely. I think too, it's like just being yourself. You're gonna align yourself then with people that work with you, if that makes sense. Like work well with you, or they're gonna be attracted to wanting to work with you because you're just being yourself, and they like that, or they're similar.
I think when people are where they're supposed to be, it draws other people towards you. Is that what you mean? That other people come alongside because they see you doing something. They see you being you.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Ooh, I want a piece of this. I want to be me too."
Yeah.
You know, like not that they want to be you, but that when they see you being you and doing the things that you're good at and doing the things that you're called to do, it's they want that same thing for them.
Yeah.
And,
for sure.
And so it creates more space for people to come alongside and feel encouraged to take risks and to put themselves out there and to go in that direction.
Yeah. It just shows to other people too, okay, I can do what I want to go out for. What they want to go out for, or to other women too.
Yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
Other people have gone before me.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Gabby, I'm so thankful that you were willing to come today and talk with me and share your heart with me and pieces of your life, because the way that you work is actually how you live. It's just like we've been talking about, your work and your life is all intermixed. And I'm just so thankful that you were willing to be open and share some stories and be with me today. So thank you for coming. You truly are an inspiration to me, and I believe to many of our listeners.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome.